The night lights from the Lagos waterfront reflected sharply off the polished body of the private jet as it rolled to a gentle stop. Guests at the engagement party paused, confused, squinting toward the runway as the soft hum of the jet continued to echo across the compound. The music faded. The chatter died. Even the dancers froze mid-step, their eyes drawn toward the unexpected visitor. Amira held a microphone in her trembling hand, her engagement dress sparkling under the chandeliers set up on the open-air lawn. It was supposed to be her perfect evening, her flawless moment, the night she became Mrs. Christopher Blake. Everything had been planned to perfection. The food, the decor, the photographers. Nothing was supposed to interrupt the picture she had built carefully for years. But when the jet door slowly opened, her smile cracked. A man stepped out. Not just any man. The man. The same man she slapped in public earlier that afternoon. The same man she humiliated at the mall because she believed he was beneath her. Poor, irrelevant, a nobody. But now, he was stepping out of a private jet like he owned the sky. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Christopher, her fiancé, stood beside her in confusion. Baby, isn't that? She could not speak. Her throat closed as her eyes locked onto him. Jordan, the man she slapped. Hours ago, she spoke to him like he was dirt. She shoved him aside, embarrassed him before strangers, accused him of trying to brush against her when all he did was walk past. She remembered the sting of her palm hitting his cheek, the mall security guards rushing over, the crowd gathering, her voice raised in anger as she yelled at him for daring to walk too close to her. She remembered the way people looked at him, the shame she placed on him, the way she felt powerful doing it. But she also remembered something else. He didn't fight back. He didn't shout. He didn't insult her. He only looked at her with a calm she thought was arrogance and walked away without raising a hand. Now that same man was walking down the jet steps dressed in a perfectly tailored suit that gleamed under the lights. His shoulders were relaxed. His steps were steady. His expression unreadable. But what shook Amira the most was the way people reacted to him. The security guards bowed slightly. The event organizer rushed forward nervously. The musicians stopped playing entirely. Jordan's presence carried weight, real weight, the kind that comes from power, money, and influence, the kind that cannot be faked. Christopher swallowed hard. What is going on? Why is he here? Who is he? Amira said nothing. Her legs wobbled. Her stomach twisted painfully. She felt sweat forming at the back of her neck, despite the cool night breeze. Jordan walked closer, his eyes never leaving hers. His calm face from the afternoon had not changed, but now it carried something else, authority. She heard whispers among the guests. That's the owner of Blake Aviation. No, he's a new CEO. I heard he bought out the whole company last month. But why is he here? Is he coming for Bride? The murmurs grew louder, swirling around her like a storm she could not escape. Christopher tugged her arm gently. Amira, how do you know this man? She tried to breathe, but her chest felt tight. I didn't know. Jordan finally reached the engagement stage. The lights shifted, unintentionally framing him like he belonged there. He stood tall, elegant, and intimidating. A man who looked poor hours ago. A man who was slapped like a beggar. A man who now stepped out of a private jet and walked into her engagement party like he had every right to be there. Jordan looked at Christopher first. Evening. Christopher nodded, still unsure. Evening, sir. Then Jordan turned to Amira. His gaze was sharp enough to cut through the night. Amira, he said calmly, you left something unfinished today. Her knees nearly buckled. Christopher looked between them. What does he mean? Jordan pulled something from his jacket pocket. Small, folded, familiar, a receipt from a mall pharmacy. Amira inhaled sharply. She remembered. After slapping him, she stormed into the pharmacy to pick up the luxury skincare items she ordered earlier. Out of anger, she forgot her wallet on the counter. She panicked when she searched her purse earlier tonight and couldn't find it, but she told no one. Jordan held it up. You forgot this, he said. Gasps echoed again. Amira felt like the ground beneath her shoes was cracking open. Jordan returned the wallet to her slowly. She reached for it with trembling fingers. Their eyes met again, his calm, hers drowning in fear. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. He nodded once, then turned to leave, but he stopped suddenly, looked over his shoulder, and said the words that shattered the air. "We are not done." Christopher's head snapped toward her. What does he mean, Amira? She could not answer. She could barely breathe. Her engagement night felt like a cage now, and Jordan, the man she thought was poor, held the key to everything. The guests began whispering even louder. What unfinished business? Did something happen between them? Why would a billionaire show up for her? She slapped him? What kind of person is she? Christopher's parents looked horrified, whispering angrily among themselves. His mother shook her head. His father clenched his jaw. Jordan continued walking toward the exit of the compound, his silhouette sharp under the lights. Amira's world felt like it was collapsing. She thought it was over. She thought he came only to embarrass her. But Jordan suddenly paused near the gate, looked back once more, and made a called gesture to someone inside the jet. Another figure stepped out. A woman wearing the same colors as the engagement theme. A woman holding a small velvet box. Christopher frowned. "Who is that?" The guests craned their necks in confusion. Then someone whispered loudly, "That's Jordan's sister." The whisper spread like wildfire. Why is she carrying an engagement ring? Is Jordan proposing to someone tonight? Is he here for Amira? Christopher stiffened beside his bride-to-be. For the first time in her life, Amira felt truly afraid, not of Jordan, but of what was coming next, of what he was planning, of how her slap earlier today could destroy everything she had built. Jordan raised his hand slightly, signaling his sister to wait. Then he spoke loudly enough for the entire engagement party to hear. "Since we are all gathered here tonight, it's only right that some truths come out." The crowd fell silent. Christopher's grip tightened on Amira's wrist, and then Jordan pointed directly at her. "We need to talk about you." The guests gasped again. The lights shifted. The tension thickened. And then darkness. The power suddenly went off. Screams filled the air. A generator kicked in slowly. But by the time the lights returned, Jordan was gone. So was his sister. And the jet door was closed. The engagement party was in chaos. Christopher stood frozen. Amira's legs nearly gave way. And somewhere in the shadows, someone whispered what everyone else was thinking. This night has just begun. What did Jordan mean? Why did he point at her? What truth was he about to reveal before the lights went out? Before we continue, please drop a like on this video if the story has grabbed your attention. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss new stories like this. And before we dive deeper into what really happened between Amira and Jordan, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Also, what would you have done if you were in Jordan's shoes earlier today? The night refused to calm down. Even after the lights returned and the music attempted to restart, the atmosphere at the engagement party remained tight, heavy, and uneasy. Guests whispered in clusters. Some were already packing their bags. Others stayed only because curiosity chained their feet to the ground. Amira felt sweat sliding down her back despite the cool night air. Her engagement dress, which she had chosen to make her feel powerful and admired, now weighed on her like a burden. Every camera that flashed felt like a judgmental eye staring straight through her. Christopher's voice broke through the noise, low and strained. "Amira, talk to me. What is happening? Why did that man come here? Why did he point at you? And why did he say there were truths to reveal?" She swallowed hard. "I don't know, Chris. I swear I don't." He stared at her like he was searching for cracks in her words. "Then how does he know your name?" She looked away. He noticed. "Amira," he said slowly, "did you meet him before today?" She opened her mouth, but hesitation clogged her throat. She remembered the slap, the embarrassment she threw at Jordan without a second thought. She remembered the sting of her palm meeting his cheek, the crowd murmuring, the security rushing toward them. She remembered the cold look in Jordan's eyes, not anger, not pain, but something deeper, something she dismissed too quickly. Christopher took a step closer. Did something happen between you two? A wave of shame crawled across her skin. Before she could answer, Christopher's mother stormed toward them, her expensive wrapper swaying furiously. Her voice was sharp enough to cut the night apart. What nonsense is this? How could a man we've never seen walk into my son's engagement party from a private jet and embarrass us? Amira, explain yourself now. Amira felt her stomach twist. She hated moments like this. Moments where the world demanded answers she didn't have. I slapped him earlier today, she whispered. The entire Blake family froze. You did what? Christopher's father asked, his brows furrowing deeply. It was just a misunderstanding, she stammered. I thought he tried to touch me at the mall, and I reacted. I didn't know who he was. Christopher stared at her like she had just confessed to a crime. Amira, how could you slap a stranger publicly? And now he shows up here in a private jet? Are you crazy? She flinched at his tone. It was the first time he had ever spoken to her like that. Christopher's mother hissed loudly. This girl will ruin everything. Everything we planned. Amira's chest tightened. She wasn't used to being questioned. She wasn't used to being the one on the defensive. She had built her entire life on being admired, respected, envied. She didn't know how to stand in the space where people looked at her with disappointment instead of admiration. Before more questions could come, the event organizer rushed toward them, breathless. Sir, madam, the jet. It's gone. They all turned at once. The jet that had caused so much panic was already rolling toward the far end of the private runway, engines roaring again. Within seconds, its wheels lifted off the ground, gliding into the night sky like it had never been there at all. Christopher's mother muttered angrily. He came to cause trouble. I knew it. But Christopher wasn't convinced. No, there's more to this. He didn't just come to embarrass us. He came for something or someone. His eyes shifted to Amira. Her pulse raced. Guests began leaving in small groups, whispering loudly enough that she could hear fragments. Why did he come? Did she cheat on her fiancé? Is she hiding something? She slapped a billionaire? Who does that? Maybe he came for her. Each word felt like a stone thrown at her already cracking self-esteem. By the time the party had been reduced to only family members and a few close friends, Amira excused herself and rushed into the mansion. She needed air, space, silence, anything to escape the eyes drilling into her. Inside the luxurious sitting room, she finally inhaled deeply, until a soft voice startled her. You've made a very big mistake, my dear. It was her Annie Miriam, the woman who raised her after her parents died. She had arrived late to the engagement, but had witnessed everything. Auntie, please, Amira whispered, collapsing into a sofa. I didn't know. I didn't know who he was. That's the point, Annie Miriam said gently as she sat beside her. Life carries people in different levels. You can never tell who someone truly is. That man, he didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He only came quietly and left quietly. People with real power behave that way. Amira buried her face in her palms. I'm finished. No, you're not finished yet, her aunt said. But you must prepare yourself. Men like him do not react without purpose. If he came to your engagement in a private jet, he wants something. What could he possibly want from me? Amira whispered. That, her aunt said, is what you must pray you learn in good time. Suddenly, Christopher barged into the room, anger written across his face. Amira, we need to talk. Alone. Annie Miriam stood up slowly. I'll give you both privacy. She left the room, shutting the door behind her. Christopher walked closer until he towered over Amira. I need the truth now. No more stalling. Who is that man? She closed her eyes and tried to speak, but her voice was shaky. I told you. I don't know him. I only saw him today at the mall. Christopher narrowed his eyes. Then why did his sister come out with a velvet box? Why was she wearing the same color theme as our engagement? Why did he say he had something to reveal about you? Her chest tightened painfully. She didn't have answers. Christopher continued. Am I marrying a woman with hidden matters? Does he have something on you? Was he your ex? Did he give you money? Did you date him before? Did you lie about your past? Amira stood up, trembling. Chris, no, I don't know him. He stepped closer, eyes burning. If you're lying to me, this relationship is over. His words hit her harder than the slap she gave Jordan earlier. She sank back onto the sofa, voice shaking. Please believe me. Please. I've never seen him before today. Christopher stared for a long time, breathing hard. We'll talk tomorrow. For now, I need space. He marched out of the room, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Silence swallowed the air. Her eyes drifted toward the window. The one facing the same direction the jet had disappeared. For a brief moment, she wondered where Jordan was going next, and why she couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't done with her. Because deep inside her chest, she knew something she couldn't explain in words. Men like Jordan didn't make public appearances without purpose. He wasn't done, not even close. Several miles away, as the jet cut to the night clouds, Jordan sat calmly, sipping water as his sister fastened her seatbelt beside him. You scared that girl tonight, his sister said. Jordan didn't reply immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice held a quiet weight. She deserves to be scared. His sister looked at him, confused. Jordan, do you really want to do this? She doesn't know who you are. She didn't know she slapped the owner of the company her fiancé is trying to buy shares from. Jordan's expression darkened. It's not about who I am. Then what is it about? She whispered. Jordan stared out the window, eyes fixed on the city lights shrinking below. It's about what she did, he said softly, and what she reminded me of. His sister's brows pulled together. Reminded you of what? Jordan didn't answer. Instead, he closed his eyes, letting the hum of the jet fuel his thoughts. Amira had no idea that her slap wasn't the beginning of this story. It was a continuation. And Jordan had come to finish what started years ago. But only he knew that truth. Hours later, Amira finally stood up, exhausted, and walked toward her bedroom. Her engagement ring still glowed on her finger, but it no longer brought joy. It felt heavy, wrong, uncertain. As she reached for the door, she noticed something on the floor, a small white envelope. Her heart skipped. She bent slowly and picked it up. There was no name on it, just a symbol, a small ink-stamped logo, Blake Aviation. Her hand shook violently as she opened it. Inside was a short note, just one sentence. You and I have unfinished business. Tomorrow, I'll come for the truth. No signature, no explanation. But she knew exactly who wrote it. She stepped back, her breath catching painfully. Jordan was coming back. And this time, he wasn't arriving quietly. Before we move on to, kindly like this video if the story has your attention so far. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more gripping stories like this. Also, take a moment to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. And think about this. If you were Amira, what would you do now that the man you slapped has returned with a warning? Amira did not sleep that night. She lay on her bed, fully awake, staring at the ceiling as the air conditioner hummed quietly. The envelope sat on her bedside table, like a threat, with a heartbeat. Every time she closed her eyes, Jordan's face appeared behind her eyelids. The calm expression he wore when she slapped him, the unreadable look in his eyes when he walked toward her engagement stage, and the chilling final sentence in the note he left behind. Tomorrow, I'll come for the truth. She tried to tell herself it was nothing. Maybe he only came to embarrass her. Maybe he wanted to teach her a lesson. Maybe it was all over. But deep inside, she knew better. Jordan didn't seem like a man who acted without intention. There was a purpose behind everything he did. The way he carried himself, the way he spoke, even the way he left. He had come to shake something loose. And now, he was coming back to complete it. At 5 a.m., Amira was still awake when she heard footsteps outside her room. The door opened slowly and Auntie Miriam stepped in, her face soft with concern. You have not slept, her aunt whispered. No, Amira replied, sitting up. I can't. My mind is too loud. Auntie Miriam walked closer. You fear this man. Yes, Amira whispered. I've never been this afraid in my life. Her aunt sat beside her. Amira Fear is the beginning of wisdom. When someone with power chooses to move close to your life, you must ask yourself why. I don't know why, Amira said desperately. I swear I don't. Then you must find out, her aunt said firmly. Before he speaks his truth, you must know yours. But that was the problem. Amira didn't know what truth Jordan wanted. After a long silence, she stood up, wrapped her robe around her shoulders, and walked to the window. Outside, dawn was breaking gently, a soft, orange light spreading across the compound. The calmness of morning clashed violently with the storm inside her chest. She touched the window pane. Annie, what if he comes here today? What if he tells Christopher something that destroys everything? Her aunt sighed. A man like Jordan does not speak without proof. If he says he will reveal something, believe he has gathered his facts. But remember this, no matter what truth he carries, it is better to hear it than hide from it. Amira's throat tightened. I'm not hiding. You are, Annie Miriam said gently. You have always hidden behind your beauty, your confidence, your status. You hide so well that you don't even know when you're doing it. Amira felt tears sting her eyes. I'm not a bad person. I just reacted. I didn't think. That is the danger, her aunt said. The act of not thinking when you believe someone is beneath you. Those words hit Amira hard. For the first time, she truly saw herself the way Jordan must have seen her. Someone who believed she had the right to humiliate a man because she thought she was above him. A knock interrupted them. Christopher's voice followed. Amira, we need to talk. Please open the door. Amira froze. Annie Miriam touched her arm. Face him, she whispered. This is part of your truth. Amira inhaled deeply and opened the door. Christopher stood there, looking tired but calmer than the night before. He had changed clothes and washed his face, but the heaviness in his eyes remained. Can we talk outside? He asked quietly. She nodded and followed him to the balcony, overlooking the still sleeping city. Christopher leaned on the railing, silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Jordan is not a normal man. Amira swallowed. I know. No, Christopher said firmly. You don't understand. Jordan Blake is one of the richest private investors in aviation on the continent. 3 months ago, he quietly became the majority shareholder of Blake Aviation. His family has money older than some cities in this country. He's not someone you can ignore. Amira's stomach twisted. Then why was he dressed like a poor man? Christopher looked at her sharply. That's what I don't understand. He doesn't walk around like a regular billionaire. He moves silently. And if he showed up here, it means he has something personal at stake. Amira looked away. I told you what happened. I slapped him because I thought he tried to touch me. I didn't know who he was. Christopher sighed. Even if he didn't know, Amira, this is going to affect both our families. My parents are furious. They're even suggesting we postpone the wedding until this truth he mentioned is cleared. Her heart skipped. Postpone? But we just got engaged. What choice do we have? Christopher replied. I can't marry you while that man is walking around with secrets and warnings. Amira felt tears rising again. Chris, please. I didn't do anything wrong. It was just a mistake. Christopher turned toward her slowly. Amira, the more you insist you did nothing wrong, the more frightened I become. She blinked. Why? He held her gaze. Because I need to know I'm marrying someone who can admit when she's wrong. Someone who can show humility. Someone who has compassion. Yesterday, you slapped a stranger in public. Today, that stranger turned out to be a billionaire. That's not the issue. The issue is how easily you can look down on someone. Her mouth fell open. Christopher softened slightly. I love you, but right now, I don't know who you are. Amira felt something crack inside her. She reached for his hand, but he gently pulled away. Before he could say more, Christopher's phone rang. He checked the screen and frowned. It's my dad, he murmured. He never calls this early. He stepped aside to answer the call. Hello, Dad? Yes, I'm with Amira. What? His eyes widened. Amira's heart pounded. What is it? Christopher slowly lowered the phone, his face pale. That jet, it didn't go to Abuja. Amira frowned. So, where did it go? Christopher swallowed hard. It went to New York. She stared. New York? Already? Christopher nodded slowly. And according to my father, Jordan filed a meeting request. With me. For today. Amira froze. Why you? She whispered. I don't know, Christopher replied. But the timing is too clear. This is about you. About last night. About the slap. About whatever truth he wants to reveal. Amira sat down heavily on the balcony bench. Christopher exhaled. My father said Jordan used one sentence in the meeting request. A long silence. Amira whispered, What sentence? Christopher looked at her with an expression she had never seen before. He said, It's time Amira learns why she slapped the wrong man. A cold shiver ran through her entire body. What does that mean? She asked shakily. I don't know, Christopher replied, but he expects me in New York by noon. When did he send the message? Amira whispered. Christopher checked his phone. 2 hours ago. But that was... Yes, he said quietly, before anyone here woke up. Amira felt the world tilt. Jordan wasn't just planning something. He was already 10 steps ahead, and she was running out of time. Suddenly, a housemaid rushed in from the hallway, breathless. Madam Amira, there is someone waiting for you at the gate. Amira stiffened. Who? The maid hesitated. A driver, in a black limousine. He said he was sent by Mr. Jordan. Amira's breath caught. Christopher snapped. He sent a limo here? The maid nodded. Yes, sir. And he said to tell Madam Amira that her journey begins now. Amira's knees weakened. Christopher turned to her slowly. Are you going to meet him? She didn't answer. She couldn't, because deep inside, she already knew the truth. Jordan was not waiting for her. He was summoning her. And whatever he wanted to reveal would change everything. Before we continue, please like this video if you're enjoying the story. Subscribe to the channel for more gripping tales. And comment below where you're watching from. And tell us, if you were in Amira's shoes, would you enter that limousine? The black limousine idled quietly outside the mansion gates, its polished body gleaming under the early morning sun. The tinted windows reflected the palm trees swaying slowly in the breeze, but nothing inside the car was visible. It looked like a shadow on wheels, silent, waiting, patient. Amira stood frozen on the balcony as the reality sank deeper into her chest. Jordan had sent for her, not suggested, not invited. Summoned. She had never been summoned by anyone in her life. She was used to being respected, admired, even feared a little. But this was different. The limo in front of the gate wasn't just a vehicle. It was a message. Her journey begins now. The words replayed in her mind again, and again like a drumbeat she could not silence. Christopher paced anxiously beside her, running a hand through his hair. Amira, if you enter that car, you're stepping into something you might not come back from. She swallowed hard. Do I have a choice? Yes, Christopher said quickly. You don't owe him anything. Whatever he wants to say can wait. We can sort this out calmly. Together. She studied his face. He meant his words, but fear lived behind them. Fear of Jordan. Fear of the unknown. Fear of losing control. Christopher had grown up in comfort. His family was respected, wealthy, powerful. But next to Jordan, an unpredictable billionaire who moved like a phantom, they were suddenly small. And that terrified him. Chris, she whispered, he's already requested a meeting with you in New York. He left a note for me. He's not stopping. Christopher stiffened. And you think go to him is the answer? It might be the only way to understand what he wants, she whispered. Running will only make things worse. Christopher didn't respond immediately. He just stared at her with a look of conflict. Love pulling one way, fear pulling the other. What are you saying, Amira? That you want to meet him? She didn't know what she wanted. She only knew that nothing in her life had prepared her for this moment. Everything familiar, her engagement, her reputation, her certainty, was crumbling beneath her. But one thing was clear. Jordan wasn't a man who acted out of pettiness. He acted with purpose. and that purpose involved her. "I need answers," she finally said, "and he seems to be the only one who has them." Christopher exhaled sharply and stepped back. "Then go, if that's what you think is best. But understand something. I will not follow you into that limo. And if he tries to humiliate you again, if he tries to twist the situation, you're on your own." His words stung, but she didn't blame him. He was scared in a way she had never seen before. They walked down the stairs together in silence, side by side but worlds apart. When they reached the front door, Annie Miriam was waiting there, her arms folded. "So," her aunt said quietly, "you're going?" Amira nodded. Annie Miriam stepped closer and cupped her cheek. "Whatever truth that man carries, remember this. You are still in control of how you receive it. Fear does not mean weakness. Sometimes it simply means you are standing before something bigger than you expected." Amira nodded again, unable to speak. Her aunt lowered her hand. "Go and face whatever waits for you. Running will not save you." Christopher opened the door, and they stepped outside. The limousine driver stood beside the car. He wore a neat black suit, white gloves, and a stoic expression. He bowed lightly when he saw them. "Madam Amira," he said respectfully, "Mr. Jordan instructed me to bring you to him immediately." Christopher stepped forward, voice sharp. "Where exactly are you taking her?" The driver didn't flinch. "Sir, I'm not permitted to disclose the destination. Mr. Jordan will explain everything himself." Christopher scoffed. Of course he won't say it. Men like him enjoy the mystery. The driver said nothing. Amira inhaled deeply and faced Christopher. "I'll call you," she whispered. He nodded stiffly. They kissed briefly, a small touch, strained and uncertain, and then she turned toward the limousine. The driver opened the door. Amira hesitated for just a second, looking back at the house, the engagement decorations still hanging limply, the remnants of last night's chaos still visible. Her entire life, until this moment, felt fragile, almost childish. Then she stepped inside. The door closed softly behind her. The interior of the limousine was quiet, filled with soft leather seats and a faint scent of citrus and cedar. There was no one else inside, just emptiness, silence, and a small note resting on the seat opposite her. Her chest tightened as she reached for it. The handwriting was familiar. This time, there were only 4 words. "You are late already." A chill crept through her. The car began to move. Amira sat perfectly still as the limousine pulled away from the mansion and merged onto the main road. The early morning city was beginning to wake up. Street vendors setting up their stalls, Kiki drivers honking lazily, the smell of roadside acrid drifting faintly through the air. It was a normal Lagos morning, and she was being driven toward a storm she could not see. Her heart raced as the car moved farther away from the city center and toward an unfamiliar road. She tried to look through the tinted glass, but couldn't see much. Only shadows, buildings, the blur of movement. After nearly an hour, the limousine slowed down. The driver spoke through the intercom. "We have arrived." "Arrived where?" The door opened automatically. Amira stepped out and gasped. She was standing in front of a massive waterfront estate. Sleek, modern, towering over the ocean like a fortress of glass and steel. Security guards in formal attire stood by the gate, each one wearing a silver pin with the Blake Aviation emblem. Christopher's words echoed in her head. This family has money older than some cities. The gate opened without a word. The driver gestured for her to walk in. Her legs trembled as she moved through the entrance, past the perfectly trimmed lawns, the fountain shaped like a soaring aircraft, the immaculate pathways. Everything screamed wealth. Not loud, showy wealth, but quiet, commanding, dangerous wealth. A woman in a navy blue suit approached her with a tablet in hand. "Welcome, Ms. Amira," she said. "Mr. Jordan is expecting you." Amira's heart thumped. The woman guided her toward the main building. Every step felt heavier than the last. Inside, the air was cold. Too cold. The floors gleamed like polished stone. Abstract paintings decorated the walls. The silence inside the mansion was thick, almost oppressive. A polished wooden door opened automatically as they approached. The woman stepped aside. "He's waiting inside." Amira entered the room slowly. It was an office, large, minimalistic, with floor-to-ceiling glass windows overlooking the ocean. A warm breeze danced through the open panel at the far end, and standing with his back to her was Jordan, hands clasped behind him, head slightly bowed. Still, silent, she tried to form words, but nothing came out. Jordan finally turned around. His eyes met hers, calm but deep, too deep. He studied her for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Do you know why you're here?" She swallowed hard. You said you wanted to tell me something." He stepped closer. "Not tell you," he corrected quietly. "Show you." Her breath caught. Jordan studied her face carefully, almost searching for something. "Amira," he said softly, "you didn't slap me by accident." Her chest tightened painfully. "What do you mean?" He walked past her, opened a drawer, and placed a small, old photo on the table. "Look closely," he said. Amira approached the table, hesitant. Her heart stopped when she saw the picture. A little boy, maybe 8 years old, standing beside a crying mother, their clothes torn, their faces desperate. And behind them, a teenage girl, beautiful, well-dressed, smirking faintly as she pointed at them. Amira felt the floor tilt. Her own teenage face stared back at her from the photograph. Her knees almost buckled. Her mouth dried. Her voice cracked when she whispered, What is this?" Jordan looked at her steadily. "This," he said, "is the truth you've been running from." She shook her head rapidly. No, this isn't. I don't understand." "That boy," Jordan said, pointing at the child in the picture, "was me." Silence crashed into the room. Amira staggered backward, pressing a trembling hand to her chest. "That can't be," she whispered. "I don't remember this. I don't." "But I do," Jordan said quietly, "because that day changed the entire course of my life." She stared at the photograph again, and the distant memory, half buried by time and pride, slowly clawed its way to the surface. A marketplace, a loud argument, her younger self shouting at a poor boy and his mother, her pushing them, mocking them, calling them nobodies. That smirk she thought meant confidence. Now she saw it differently. It was cruelty. Jordan watched her closely. "We met before, Amira, years ago. You just didn't know you were shaping your future the day you humiliated mine." Her breath came in shaky bursts. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "When you slapped me yesterday, I realized something important." She lifted her eyes slowly. "What?" she whispered. Jordan's expression hardened. "You haven't changed." The words shattered something deep inside her. "Jordan," she whispered, "please, I was just a child. I didn't know." "And yesterday?" he asked calmly. She flinched. "It was a mistake. I thought—" "You thought I was beneath you," he said coldly. "Just like you thought my mother was beneath you years ago." Tears filled her eyes. Jordan stepped back, giving her space to breathe. "For 15 years," he continued, "I built everything I have on the memory of that day. I promised myself that one day I would stand where no one could look down on me again." Amira shook her head desperately. "Jordan, I swear I didn't know it was you." "That's the point," he said quietly. "People like you rarely remember the harm they cause. But the people you hurt remember forever." A heavy silence fell between them. Amira finally whispered, "What do you want from me?" Jordan looked at her for a long moment. Then he said the words that froze her blood. "I want you to correct what you broke." She blinked rapidly. I don't understand." "You will," he said, "because you're not going back home today." Her breath caught sharply. "What do you mean?" "You'll stay here," he said calmly, "until everything between us is finished." She jolted back. "What?" "No, Jordan, I can't stay here." "You can," he said quietly, "and you will." Terror washed over her. Her voice shook. "And if I refuse?" Jordan held her gaze with an expression she couldn't read. Part pain, part anger, part something else entirely. "Then," he said slowly, "your past will be revealed to the world before sunset." Amira's heart nearly stopped. Jordan didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten her with rage. He used truth, And truth was far more dangerous, because now she knew. He didn't come back for revenge. He came back for justice, and he wasn't leaving without it. Amira felt the walls closing in around her. Jordan's words echoed again and again in her mind, like a trap tightening around her chest. You're not going back home today. Her throat dried. Her palms grew cold. She stared at him, unable to move, unable to breathe. Jordan, she whispered, you can't keep me here. I'm not keeping you, he said calmly. I'm asking you to stay until we're done. That's the same thing, she said, her voice trembling. No, he replied. If you walk out that door, you'll be choosing the consequences yourself. He moved toward the window, his back turned to her, his posture controlled and unervingly calm. Amira trembled. Her heartbeat slammed against her ribs. Her mind raced to find an exit, physical or emotional, but every path felt blocked. She wasn't trapped by walls or locks. She was trapped by truth, by her past, by the photograph still lying on the table like a wound reopened. She stared at it again, her teenage self arrogant and unkind, standing behind a desperate boy and his mother. Jordan and his mother. She closed her eyes tightly, trying to chase away the memory, but it returned sharper than ever. A dusty marketplace, a crying child, her voice yelling, her friends laughing, her aunt yelling at her to stop, her mother dragging her away. She remembered now. She wished she didn't. She opened her eyes. Jordan, she said shakily, I'm sorry. I truly am. I know. I didn't remember. I know you didn't, he said, turning to face her again. That's why we're here. She shook her head. I apologize for yesterday. I'm apologizing for this too. Isn't that enough? He studied her expression. Is it enough for you? Her lips trembled. I've said I'm sorry. What more do you want? He walked toward her slowly, then stopped a few feet away. A real apology, he said, isn't just words. It's understanding. It's accountability. It's change. I understand now, she whispered. I hurt you. I hurt your mother. I was horrible. I was a child, but it was still wrong. I know that now. I'm willing to apologize properly, but I can't stay here. My fiancé is worried. My aunt is worried. My life is outside these walls. Jordan's eyes darkened slightly, not with anger, but with something deeper. Your life, he said quietly, is built on a foundation you don't understand yet. You walk through the world with confidence because you believe your past holds nothing dangerous. But it does. Her stomach clenched. What do you mean? He did not answer. Instead, he walked toward a cabinet, unlocked it, and pulled out a slim black folder. He placed it on the table. Open it, he said. Her fingers trembled as she flipped the cover. Her breath caught. Inside were documents, newspaper clippings, hospital reports, property transfer papers, and photographs. A tiny house in a poor neighborhood, a bill from a clinic, a legal notice about eviction, a photo of a gravestone. Her voice cracked. What is this? Jordan watched her silently, his face unreadable. She looked down again. The gravestone carried a name. Innocent Blake, beloved mother. Amira's chest tightened painfully. Jordan, your mother, she passed? He nodded once. 10 years ago. Emotions twisted violently inside her. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You didn't care, he said softly. Not angrily. Not accusingly. Just stating a fact. Tears filled her eyes. Please don't do this. Do what? He asked quietly. Make me responsible for things I didn't know about, she whispered. Jordan inhaled deeply, pinching the bridge of his nose. For a moment, the powerful billionaire facade slipped, revealing something raw underneath. This is not about blame, he said slowly. This is about truth. You need to see the full picture before you decide what you owe, before we decide what comes next. She sat heavily on the nearest chair, the folder still open in her lap. What does any of this have to do with me? She whispered. Jordan moved closer, his voice calm but firm. After that day in the marketplace, my mother lost her job. The argument you started drew a crowd. The shop owner blamed her. She was fired 2 days later. Amira's eyes widened in horror. "No," she whispered. "That can't be true." "It is," he said. "Every document in that folder is real." "But how could—" I was a child. "And she was a single mother," he cut in gently, "trying to protect her son, trying to survive." Amira shook her head repeatedly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't know any of this. Nobody ever told me." "Why would they?" he asked. "Your family moved to a better neighborhood the next year. You never saw the consequences of your actions." She placed her hands over her face, overwhelmed. After a long silence, Jordan walked to the window again, staring at the ocean as the waves crashed gently against the shore. "My mother worked herself sick trying to make ends meet," he continued. "When she couldn't afford proper health care, you can guess how the story ended." She sobbed quietly. Jordan turned back to her. "I'm not telling you this to punish you. I'm telling you because you need to understand why I can't let you walk away from this conversation. Understanding must come before forgiveness." Her voice cracked. "Do you want revenge?" "No," he said firmly. "If I wanted revenge, I would have destroyed your engagement last night. I would have let the world see the photograph. I would have called the press." "Then what do you want?" she asked, desperate. He exhaled slowly, the first sign of vulnerability slipping through. "I want closure." She blinked through tears. "Closure?" He nodded. "I built everything in my life to escape the humiliation of that moment. I grew stronger. I became powerful. But when you slapped me yesterday, it felt like being dragged back to that helpless place. Suddenly, I realized something terrifying." "What?" she whispered. "That no matter how far I've come, I'm still chained to that childhood memory," he said quietly. "I need to cut that chain. I need to face the past, not with anger, but with clarity." Amira stared at him, stunned. "And you think I'm the key to that?" she whispered. "Yes," he said. She wiped her tears. "Then what happens now?" Jordan stepped closer, his gaze locked onto hers, intense, searching, controlled. "Now," he said, "you stay here until we finish everything. Until I tell you the whole story. Until you tell yours. Until the truth is complete." Her pulse quickened. "But Christopher, your fiancé will learn the truth too," he said calmly. "The question is whether he learns it from me or from you." He let that sink in. Amira's entire body shivered. A soft knock came on the door. A woman's voice spoke from the hallway. "Sir, the next file is ready." Jordan nodded without turning. "Bring it in." The woman entered, carrying another black folder. She placed it on the table and left silently. Jordan tapped the cover. "This," he said, "is about your family." Amira's breath hitched. My family?" He nodded. "Yes, the part of the story you've never heard." Her hands shook as she reached for the folder. Jordan's voice was low, steady. "Everything you think you know about your past," he said, "is about to change." She froze. "What does that mean?" Jordan's eyes softened slightly, not with kindness, but with something closer to grief. "You're not the only one who caused damage that day," he said quietly. "Your family did too, and they hid it from you." A sharp knock suddenly cut through the tension. Jordan's sister poked her head in, eyes wide with urgency. "Jordan," she said breathlessly, "you need to come downstairs. Now." "What's wrong?" he asked. She hesitated. Then she said the words that made Amira's entire world tilt. "Christopher is here." Amira jumped to her feet. "What? Chris? Why?" Jordan looked at her carefully. "This," he said softly, "was not part of the plan." Amira felt her heart pounding wildly, terror rising like a storm. Christopher was here, and Jordan had 2 folders filled with truths that could shatter everything. Christopher's sudden arrival hit Amira like a physical blow. Her legs felt weak, her heartbeat thundering painfully in her ears. She grabbed the edge of the table for balance, her fingers trembling. "Chris is here," she whispered, staring at Jordan's sister. Jordan's sister nodded, still breathless. "Yes." He came with 2 guards. He said he won't leave until he sees Amira. Amira's stomach twisted. Christopher wasn't a confrontational person. For him to arrive unannounced at a billionaire's estate, Jordan Blake's estate, meant one thing. He was afraid. Afraid of losing her. Afraid of losing control. Afraid that Jordan had something powerful enough to destroy everything. Jordan exhaled slowly, pressing his thumb against his temple as though trying to stop a rising headache. For the first time since she arrived, he looked unsettled. Not angry, not surprised, but unsettled. "This is earlier than expected," he murmured. Amira froze. "What do you mean earlier?" she asked quietly. "Did you expect him to come?" Jordan lifted his eyes to hers. "Not today. Not before noon. Not without warning." Her chest tightened. "Jordan, please don't do anything to him." His brow rose slightly. "I have no reason to harm your fiancé. Amira, the truth is not violence." She swallowed hard, but she wasn't afraid of violence. She was afraid of exposure. Afraid of what Jordan still hadn't told her. Afraid of what Christopher was about to walk into. Jordan turned to his sister. "Take him to the blue room. Offer him water. No one says anything until I arrive." His sister nodded and hurried out of the office. Amira took a shaking step forward. "Jordan, please don't confront him with anything yet. You're not finished telling me everything." Jordan met her gaze directly, his eyes unreadable. "That depends on him. Not me." "No," she whispered. "It depends on you. You said this was about closure, not revenge." He held her gaze but didn't respond. Silence pressed thickly between them. Amira suddenly felt exposed, vulnerable, like the foundation beneath her could shift again at any moment. She took another step forward. "Let me talk to him first," she said quickly. "Please." Jordan did not move. "If you talk to him, will you tell him the truth?" Her mouth opened, but her voice refused to form a reply. Truth? Which truth? The marketplace incident? The slap at the mall? Her arrogance as a teenager? Her hidden past? Or the truth Amira feared most, that she didn't fully know herself anymore? Jordan watched her struggle. "Exactly," he said quietly. "You're not ready." Her breath caught. He gestured toward the unopened black folder. "You haven't even learned everything yet. You don't know your part. You don't know your family's part. You don't know why your mother begged your aunt to hide something from you before she died." Amira jerked her head up sharply. My mother?" Jordan nodded. "Yes, and until you see what's inside that folder, you are not prepared for what Christopher needs to hear." Her vision blurred with sudden panic. "My mother never hid anything from me," she whispered shakily. "Didn't she?" Jordan asked quietly. He pushed the folder closer to her. "You should take a seat." Amira stepped back instead. "No more secrets. Tell me, what does my mother have to do with any of this?" Jordan's jaw tightened slightly, the first true sign of discomfort she had seen on his face. "Your mother," he said calmly, "made decisions that shaped both of our lives, and your aunt continued those decisions after she passed." She shook her head violently. No, Annie Miriam would never hide something from me." Jordan's gaze softened, not with sympathy, but with the weight of someone who'd carried truth for too long. "She did," he said, "and you will understand why soon." Her breath came out in shaky bursts. This was too much, too fast, too heavy. Jordan turned toward the window and inhaled deeply. "We don't have time to finish everything before Christopher grows impatient. He will not sit downstairs quietly for long." "What do we do?" she asked, terrified. Jordan looked at her again, calm, composed, unreadable. "You're going to meet him." She blinked. "I what?" "You will go downstairs and speak to him," Jordan said. "But you will not mention me yet. Not the photo. Not your past. Not anything." Amira stared at him in disbelief. "Why? Why not tell him the truth now?" "Because the truth is not complete," Jordan said. "And a half-truth would destroy your relationship faster than a whole one." Her throat tightened. He stepped closer. "Amira," he said carefully, "if you give him fragments, he will fill in the gaps with fear. If he hears only parts, he will assume the worst. He will think you're hiding something bigger. Trust me, I know how that feels." She swallowed. "So, what do I tell him?" Jordan's voice softened. You tell him you needed time, that I'm helping you understand something important, something about your past. You tell him you will talk to him fully once you understand it yourself. She stared at him. That sounds like a lie. It isn't, Jordan said. It's a half-truth that will protect you until you're ready. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. He nodded at the door. He's waiting. Just then, Jordan's sister rushed back upstairs. Jordan, she said, breathless again, you need to come now. What happened? Jordan asked. She hesitated, then spoke. He threatened to call the police. Amira's heart plummeted. Jordan closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. Take me to him. As he walked past Amira, she reached out instinctively and grabbed his wrist. Jordan, she whispered, please don't tell him anything yet. He looked down at her hand, then up into her eyes. And for the first time, something flickered in his expression. Something quiet, human. I won't betray you, he said softly, but I won't protect you from the truth either. She let go slowly. Jordan walked out. Amira followed behind him, her steps shaky. They moved down the long glass hallway. The sound of the ocean outside seemed louder, crashing harder, as though the world itself was reacting. As they descended the grand staircase, Amira saw Christopher in the blue room, standing, pacing, furious and frightened. He turned sharply as she entered. Amira, he shouted, rushing toward her. Are you okay? Did he force you to come here? What's going on? Why haven't you answered your phone? Amira opened her mouth, but no words came. Christopher turned next to Jordan. You, he snapped. We're going to have a serious problem if you don't explain what you want. Jordan didn't flinch. Calm down, Christopher. You came here uninvited. Because my fiancé disappeared into your limousine. Christopher barked. Who do you think you are? Jordan stepped closer, his presence commanding. Someone who knows the truth. Someone who was wronged. Someone who will no longer be silent. Christopher's fists clenched. What truth? Jordan glanced at Amira before answering. Not yet, he said calmly. Your fiancée will tell you when she's ready. Christopher turned slowly toward her. Amira, he said quietly, voice breaking at the edges. What is he talking about? What truth? She tried to speak, but Jordan placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Tell him what I told you, he said. Amira forced herself to meet Christopher's eyes. It's something about my past, she said softly. Something I never knew. Something I'm still trying to understand. Christopher stared at her, wounded. And you chose him to help you instead of me? She stepped forward. Chris, please. I just need time. Time for what? He asked, desperate now. To choose between us? Her breath caught. No, she said firmly. Time to understand who I really am. Christopher looked between them. Her trembling hands, Jordan's unreadable expression, then stepped back slowly. I don't like this, he said. Not any of it. Jordan's jaw tightened slightly. That makes two of us. Christopher exhaled shakily, then looked at Amira again. I'll give you time, he said, but understand one thing. He leaned closer, his voice trembling. I won't share you with him. Amira gasped softly. Christopher turned and walked out of the room before she could respond, his footsteps heavy and filled with questions. The front door closed behind him. Silence swallowed the room again. Amira felt her knees weaken. Jordan spoke quietly beside her. That, he said, was the beginning. She turned to him, terrified. Beginning of what? Jordan lifted the unopened black folder. The truth about your mother. Her breath froze. And once you read it, Jordan continued, everything in your life, from the day you slapped me as a child to the engagement last night, will finally make sense. Her voice cracked. What did my mother do? Jordan opened the folder slowly, and her world began to unravel. Amira's pulse thudded so loudly she could hear in her ears. The black folder lay open on the glass table between her and Jordan like an exposed wound. Silent, waiting, dangerous. Jordan's expression was unreadable, but his eyes held something she had not seen before. Not anger, not revenge, but a deep, heavy sadness. Sit, he said quietly. Amira lowered herself into the chair, though her legs felt like water. Her fingers curled against each other tightly enough to hurt. Jordan took a slow breath, as if preparing himself for something difficult. Before I show you what's inside, you need to hear this part clearly. She swallowed. I'm listening. Your mother, he said gently, was not a bad woman. She made decisions that protected you. Decisions you believed were right. Decisions that shaped both our lives. Amira felt her throat tighten. My mother never hid anything from me. Jordan held her gaze. She did. Amira shook her head. No, my mother was honest. She told me everything about her life. Everything about our family. Why would she hide something from me? Because some truths, Jordan said quietly, are too heavy for a child. Silence filled the room. Jordan finally opened the folder fully and slid a document toward her. Start here. Her trembling eyes scanned the first page. Police report. Date: 15 years ago. Location: Ido Market, Lagos. Her heart began to pound painfully. This is from the day in the marketplace, she whispered. Yes, Jordan said, but not the version you remember. Her eyes darted down the page. Witness statements, descriptions, a summary of the incident. Her hand pressed against her mouth as she read. A young girl accused a boy and his mother of theft, leading to a physical altercation, verbal harassment, and public humiliation. Her breath caught. She remembered shouting. She remembered pushing. She remembered calling them thieves because her bracelet went missing. She never found out later. It had slipped into her school bag, but the damage had already been done. Her voice trembled. I didn't know they wrote a police report. Of course you didn't, Jordan said. Your mother and aunt intervened before you were taken in. The case was closed immediately. She blinked rapidly. Taken in? What do you mean? Jordan slid a second document forward. Petition for arrest. Filed by the shop owner. Amira's skin went cold. He wanted to arrest me? She whispered. Yes, Jordan said. But your mother begged him to withdraw it. She pleaded. She cried. She brought a lawyer. She did everything to protect you. Her vision blurred with tears. Jordan continued, voice low. Your mother paid him a large sum to keep your name out of the system. Amira shook her head. No, that can't be true. Jordan nodded slowly. Amira, my mother wasn't the only one who lost something that day. Your mother did too. She emptied her account to protect you. She stopped paying your school fees for a term. She borrowed money from relatives. No, Amira whispered, tears streaming. My mother always said she moved me to a different school for better opportunities. She lied. Jordan said gently, she moved you because of the incident, because parent complained, because you become known as a child who falsely accused a poor family of stealing. Amira pressed her hands to her face, shaking. I didn't know. Jordan's voice softened. You weren't supposed to know. She wanted you to have a fresh start. I ruined everything, she sobbed. No, Jordan said firmly. You were a child, a privileged child who didn't understand your own power. Children make mistakes, but those mistakes can follow others for a lifetime. Her voice shook. So my mother hid all of this from me? Yes, Jordan replied. To protect you, to make sure you didn't grow up with guilt. She stared at the documents again, the truth sinking deep into her bones. Then Jordan slid another paper toward her. This, he said, is the part she wanted you to know when you grew older, but she died before she could. Amira hesitated before reading it. Letter undelivered. To my daughter, Amira. Her breath froze. It's from my mother, she whispered. Jordan nodded. Your aunt gave it to me years ago. Amira looked up sharply. My aunt? Auntie Miriam gave this to you? Why didn't she give it to me? Because she thought you were not ready, Jordan said. And then time passed, and she convinced herself the truth would only hurt you. Amira's hand shook violently as she opened the letter. Her mother's handwriting filled the page. My daughter, if you are reading this, it means you are old enough to understand the weight of choices. That day in the market was not your fault alone. I should have taught you humility earlier. I should have taught you to see people from the heart, not from their clothes. What you did hurt a family deeply. But the truth is, it hurt me too. I saw a side of you that terrified me. Not because you were cruel, but because you had power without wisdom. I prayed it would be the last time I saw you use your voice to destroy instead of lift. I moved us because I could not bear the shame, and because I needed you to grow into someone better. If you ever meet that boy again one day, I pray you both find peace. With love, your mother. Amira collapsed over the table, sobbing uncontrollably. Jordan remained silent, giving her space to break. Minutes passed before she finally lifted her face, streaked with tears. She knew, she whispered. She knew I hurt you. She knew I was wrong. She knew I needed to change. Jordan stepped forward slowly and lowered himself to her level. And you did change, Amira. She shook her head violently. No, I didn't. I slapped you yesterday the same way I slapped you as a child. Nothing changed. Jordan held her gaze. People don't grow in straight lines. Sometimes they return to old versions of themselves when they feel threatened or insecure. Her hands shook as she wiped her tears. What do I do now? Jordan exhaled deeply. You listen to the rest. Amira froze. There's more. Jordan nodded. The truth about your mother was only part of it. The rest is about your father. My father, she whispered, but he died when I was 12. Jordan looked at her quietly. That's what you were told. Her heart skipped violently. What were you saying? Jordan closed the folder. Then he opened a drawer and pulled out a small, worn photograph. He placed it gently in front of her. Amira leaned forward. Her breath lodged in her throat. It was her father, standing beside another woman, holding a baby with familiar eyes. Her entire world tilted sideways. Jordan, she whispered, barely breathing, what is this? Jordan's voice was calm. It means your father didn't die. Amira's heart slammed. He left. She jerked back, shaking her head wildly. No, you're lying. My father died in an accident. My mother told me, and he told me. Jordan didn't blink. He left you both, he repeated calmly. He started another family. He abandoned your mother when she needed him most, and she hid it to protect your dignity. Amira's breath shattered. No, Jordan, no. He pushed the photograph closer. This, he said softly, is your half-sister. A ringing sound filled Amira's ears. The room spun. The floor felt unstable beneath her feet. And then Jordan added the final blow. She lives in the city. Amira froze, trembling. And you know her, Jordan finished quietly. Her blood went cold. What do you mean I know her? Jordan looked deeply into her eyes. Your half-sister, he said, works for your fiancé's family. Amira's mouth fell open in shock. Her vision blurred. Her chest heaved. Jordan spoke the name slowly. Alicia. Amira gasped, a sharp, broken sound. No, not Alicia. Not the quiet, polite girl who served drinks at their engagement party. Not the girl she barely noticed. Not the girl everyone overlooked. Jordan stood up slowly. You humiliated my family, he said softly, and your father humiliated yours. Our stories are tangled in ways neither of us understood until now. Amira couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think, and then Jordan said the words that reshaped her entire reality. The truth isn't finished yet. Amira felt her world folding inward, layer by layer, until all that remained was the sound of her own breath, shallow, broken, frightened. Her father wasn't dead. He had abandoned them. And her half-sister, Alicia, had been under her nose this whole time. It didn't make sense. It made too much sense. Everything was collapsing at once. She stared at the photograph on the table, her father's arm around a woman she had never met, his other hand holding a baby, Alicia, a daughter he had chosen to raise, a daughter he didn't hide, a daughter he didn't leave behind. And all these years, Amira thought she was the only child. Jordan watched her quietly, waiting, as her mind tried to rearrange itself. You're lying, she whispered, though her voice lacked conviction, strength, or hope. Jordan shook his head slowly. I'm not. It's not possible, she said, swallowing hard. Alicia, the girl who works for Christopher's family? Why didn't she say anything? Why didn't she come to me? Jordan's expression softened just a fraction, not with pity, but with understanding. Because she didn't know either, he said quietly. She grew up not even knowing you existed. Only her mother knew. And when her mother died, the truth died with her. Amira clutched the edges of the table, steadying herself. Her voice came out hoarse. Then, how do you know? Jordan exhaled deeply. After my mother died, I made a promise to myself that no one would ever make me feel powerless again. When I gained access to resources, I began digging into my own past. And in the process, I found pieces of yours. She stared at him, stunned. You investigated me? Yes, Jordan answered calmly. Because of what happened between us as children. Not to harm you, only understand who you were and why our lives intersected the way they did. Amira felt hot shame crawl across her skin. The past she tried to forget, the arrogance, the ignorance, the cruelty, had not only shaped Jordan. It connected them in ways she didn't expect. Jordan stepped forward, resting one hand on the folder. But what I discovered was far more complicated than I expected. Your father's betrayal of your family and the way your mother hid it created a ripple effect neither of us understood. Amira sank slowly into the chair, defeated. My mother, she lied to me about everything. No, Jordan said. She protected you from everything. There's a difference. She stayed silent. Jordan continued. Your mother believed you deserved a life free from shame, free from anger, free from the weight she carried. But the truth always finds its way back. She rubbed her forehead, trying to catch her breath. Does Alicia know now? About me? Jordan shook his head. No, and she doesn't need to, unless you choose to tell her. Amira pressed her lips together. Why didn't you tell her? Why didn't you go to her first? Jordan looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. Because you were the one who shaped my childhood, he said. Not her. Because the pain I carried came from you. And because closure doesn't come from the innocent. It comes from the source. Silence swallowed the room. At last, Amira whispered, So what now? You've told me everything. You've shown me everything. What do you want me to do? Jordan didn't speak immediately. He walked slowly to the glass wall, looking out at the crashing waves. Amira, he said finally, revenge is easy. Too easy. I could have destroyed your engagement last night. I could have exposed you, exposed your father, exposed everything. Her stomach twisted. But I didn't come for revenge, he said quietly. I came for truth, closure, and maybe something else. She stared at his back. What else? He turned, and for the first time, she saw something vulnerable in his eyes, something human, something unexpected, something unguarded. I wanted to know whether the girl from a marketplace grew up into the woman her mother hoped she would become. Her breath caught. Am I? She whispered, afraid to hear the answer. Jordan studied her thoughtfully. Not yet, but you can be. The words stung, but they also lifted something inside her. For the first time since arriving, she felt the weight of her choices. Not from guilt alone, but from possibility. How do I fix this? She asked softly. Jordan stepped closer, taking a seat across from her. Start with honesty, he said. Not to me. I already know the truth. But to yourself, to your fiancé, to Alicia when the time is right. And most importantly, learn humility, learn compassion, learn that people who appear small can carry the biggest stories. Amira swallowed tightly. Jordan wasn't punishing her. He was challenging her to become the woman her mother had prayed she would be. A long silence passed before she finally nodded. I want to do better, she said quietly. I need to. Jordan's expression warmed just a little. A soft shift, subtle but visible. Then we are finished, he said. Her heart sank. Not because she wanted him to continue, but because she felt the gravity of the moment. Finished? She asked. He nodded. The past is no longer holding either of us hostage. A slow breath escaped her lips. Relief, fear, uncertainty, all tangled together. But before she could say anything else, the office door burst open. Christopher stormed back into the room, his face flushed with confusion and desperation. "Amira," he said, voice trembling, "I can't leave like this. I need to understand what's happening." She stood up slowly, wiping her cheeks. "Christopher, give me a moment. I'll explain everything." "No," Christopher said, stepping between her and Jordan. "I want him to stay. I want him to hear it too." Amira froze. Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure you want that?" Christopher glared at him. "If this concerns my fiancée, yes." Amira shook her head, panic rising. "Chris, please, not like this." Christopher turned to her, his voice breaking. "Do you love me?" Her breath caught. "Of course I do." "Then tell me the truth," he said quietly. "All of it. No more secrets." Amira looked at Jordan helplessly. Jordan nodded once. "Your choice, Amira." She inhaled shakily, gathering every ounce of courage inside her. "Christopher," she whispered, "what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see me. But I need you to hear it all before you decide what comes next." He swallowed hard. "I'm listening." Amira closed her eyes, her heart pounding. "I hurt Jordan when we were children. I hurt his mother. My actions destroyed their lives. And I didn't remember until today." Christopher's eyes widened, but he remained silent. She continued, "My mother hid the consequences from me. She protected me from the truth. And there's more." Christopher's jaw clenched. "More. My father," her voice cracked. "He didn't die. He left us. He had another family. A child." Christopher stepped back in shock. "I have a half-sister," Amira whispered. "Alicia." Christopher's mouth fell open. "Alicia?" he repeated. "Alicia, the girl who works with my parents?" Amira nodded weakly. "And she doesn't know," she added. "No one told her." Christopher sank onto the nearest chair, stunned. The room was silent, except for the sound of waves outside. At last, he said quietly, "I need to think." He stood up slowly. "Amira, I love you, but everything I knew about your life has changed in the last hour." Her voice trembled. "Will you leave me?" He hesitated. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but I need time to process this." She nodded, tears sliding down again. "I understand." Christopher walked toward the door, paused, then looked back once more. "Just promise me one thing," he said. "Promise me you'll face this truth, not run from it." She nodded. "I promise." He walked out, and this time he didn't look back. The door closed with a soft click. Silence. Amira turned slowly toward Jordan. He stood there, hands in his pockets, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Not satisfaction, not triumph, not pity. Something calmer, something quieter. "Thank you," she whispered, surprising herself. Jordan's brows lifted. "For what?" "For telling me the truth," she said, "even when it hurt." He studied her for a moment, then nodded once. "Truth is painful," he said, "but it's the only thing that lets us grow." A long quiet settled between them. Finally, Amira spoke again. "What happens now?" Jordan stepped closer. "Now," he said gently, "you start over with yourself, with Alicia, with Christopher, if he chooses to come back, and with your past." She inhaled shakily. "And you?" Jordan gave a small, almost invisible smile. "I got what I came for." She stared at him. "Closure?" He nodded. "Yes." Amira looked away briefly, then back at him. "Will I ever see you again?" Jordan paused. "For closure," he said. "No." He turned toward the window. "But maybe for something else." Her breath caught, but she didn't ask what he meant. Some truths don't need words. They stepped outside together, walking into the soft wind near the ocean. The waves crashed gently. The morning sun warmed the horizon, and for the first time, Amira felt something unexpected. Peace. Not because everything was fixed, far from it, but because everything was finally known. Jordan looked at her one last time. Go home, Amira. Begin again. She nodded slowly, and as she walked away from Jordan Blake's estate, away from the past toward an uncertain future, she found herself whispering the words her mother wrote years ago. Let peace find us both. The story concludes.